Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up. Period. I'm Tristan Wright and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce, that thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real. Today we're talking to Dave. So Dave, I'm going to throw over to you. Let you introduce yourself and your business.
Thanks, Tristan. Thanks for having me on the pod. So I'm the founder and MD of Murmur. We're an Australian-based media and marketing agency that help our clients with media strategy, planning and buying, and marketing mix modeling. And marketing mix modeling is a very new and interesting service that puts a light on all of the attributable metrics that Facebook and Google and whatever other digital platforms may try and throw their way. So we've been very busy. It's an old concept, but it's one that we've recently adopted into our plethora of services, and it's really exciting. But no, mate, it's good to be here with you today and talk to you.
Awesome. Now, Murmur. Where did the name Murmur come from?
Murmur was a brainwave. People talk about getting inspiration in the shower or when they're out somewhere. And I think the reason why that is because when you're stuck in the nitty-gritty of day-to-day activity, whether it's like being with a family or doing work or doing chores, whatever it is, you're just stuck in that system of thinking. And then when you go away on holiday, you're suddenly released from that. And it probably takes you about a day or two to wind down. And then suddenly there's just this plethora of ideas and stuff like that comes into your mind. And between 2012 and 2016, I was over in the UK. I worked in London for Sky UK over there, running all of their marketing with my girlfriend, now wife. And she was at Selfridges and loving life. And I'd be very nervous whenever she came home with a yellow bag, thinking, "What have you shopped today?" But we went on holiday to Croatia every year. Her parents are Croatian, so she speaks native tongue and stuff like that. And we were sailing in Split, which is the start of where the southern coast of Croatia, they turn into these amazing, beautiful islands. And, we'd been holidaying for a couple of days, and it was getting towards the end of our time in Europe. And, we were engaged and looking at coming back to Australia. And I had no idea what I was going to do when I got back to Australia. And I kind of thought, maybe I'll get a proper job, like become a CMO of a company or a small brand or a marketing director or something like that. And in the meantime, I might just start like a consultancy, just a freelance gig, because those kind of jobs will take about 8 to 9 weeks to come to fruition, things like that. So I need to give myself a runway, and I'll just do some consulting to get some cash in. And we were struggling with what to call it. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, when we were holidaying in Split on this boat, in the calm waters of the Adriatic, it just came to me in a bolt of lightning. And I just woke up, and I remember just like slapping the bed saying, "Murmur, we'll call it Murmur." I really enjoyed the it's not symmetrical, but it's I don't know what the word is. It's like symmetrical, but I also like the fact that murmur is a verb of what we do in marketing as a way of communications. And then, have you ever seen those birds? I think they're swallows that fly through like the afternoon and the evening in formation. The formations of the birds change. That's called murmuration. And it's just such a beautiful thing to look at. So there are a number of reasons as to why it's called Murmur, but I think it just came to me in a bolt of lightning, and it's just always stuck with me. And so we moved back to Sydney in 2016 from London, and I started Murmur, and I got a couple of clients in the first 2 weeks, and that real job has just never come around.
Out of interest, when were you in Croatia? But what time was that? In 2016 as well?
Yeah, 2012 to 2016. We were in London, but we would always holiday to Croatia in the summer.
So I was in Croatia with Erin, my partner at the time, in June or July 2016.
Yep.
And we were in Dubrovnik and talking about what I wanted to do when we came back from holiday, because I'd just sold my previous business.
Yeah.
And we were having a glass of wine in Dubrovnik probably at 1 a.m. And it was then that we worked out what I was going to do, and that's when I set up Evolve to Grow.
There's something in the water there, Tristan.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing country, and when I met Maria, I would have met her in the early 2000s, and I think Croatia as a state had only been around for about 10, 12 years after the Balkan Wars, and I didn't really know anything about it. And she'd always talk about the country, and because her parents would take her there when she was younger and stuff like that, and she's been back a number of times. And the first time I went, I was blown away. It's so beautiful. But again, I think when you're on holiday and your brain is relaxed and it's not thinking about the day-to-day things that are occupying the very front of your focus, you are just open to ideas and thinking of
What's possible.
Thinking what's possible.
Yeah. So you came back 2016, started as a consultant, and never went back. Tell us a bit about the journey. Like, I'm sure there's been highs, there's been lows, and it's not exactly how you started.
It's like it's sailing a boat, right? And sometimes you're in really calm waters, and then sometimes you're in very choppy waters. And sometimes there's a couple of people on the boat, and other times there's more people on the boat. You can never really tell. But I started in 2016 as I guess a marketing consultant. But I've always enjoyed being parts of teams. I grew up playing rugby. But even when I play individual sports like golf or tennis, I really enjoy the team format. So doubles in tennis is great fun, and playing a four ball in golf, or it's much more enjoyable for me doing that and being part of a team. And it offers so many things, such as you're never gonna bring 100% of yourself to work ever, like the whole time. And so the advantage of having a team around is that they will be able to pick you up when you're at 70% or 60% or 80%. And then likewise, when someone else is not operating at 100%, like they might have trouble in their personal life outside of work, they'll be operating at 70%. If it's a great team, you'll pick up that slack and you'll cover for them, and you'll help them move forward. So I always wanted to build an agency rather than a consultancy. And so we made our first hires shortly after 2016, after I won a number of clients. And then in around 2018, a lot of our clients were asking us, and saying your strategy is really great, the marketing's working, can you help us manage our media? And at that time, 2018, that was like the peak of Google Ads and Meta. And it's stuff that I'd managed before, but hadn't directly been on the tools for. And so quickly upskilled myself, a lot of late nights, lots of videos, lots of tutorials, lots of learning, and ended up building a team around that area as well. And so from 2018 to 19, we've really grown out in that media element. We've kind of left a lot of the creative behind. We don't work on any creative at the moment. The advantage of media is that it's quantitative, right? It either works or it doesn't. You're dealing with ones and zeros. There's no subjective opinions of make the logo bigger, make the logo smaller, or change that shade of blue. And I think that really resonates with me. You either win or you don't win with media. As opposed to creative, it's really difficult to know what the effectiveness of a certain variable piece of creative is. And in around 2019-20, we were able to win a number of awards for the work that our team did in media. We won a number of performance marketing awards for the work that we did with our search campaigns and our search clients. We won international awards. We won the Mumbrella Award for data-driven marketing, which is a bit of a career highlight. Mumbrella back then was one of the leading lights of marketing in terms of communication in Australia. So that was, and at that point we were a team of maybe 5 or 6 people, and I can remember those Mumbrella Awards. We beat the likes of like OMG, Deloitte Digital, huge agencies with hundreds of people at their disposal, holding co's. And it was a great time to be winning the work that we did. And then COVID happened. We were really fortunate in COVID. And I think as a business owner, you get a lot of flexibility in how you deal with things and arrange things. And obviously the world changed for everyone. But I think one of the proudest moments as a leader is that during that time, no one at Murmur took a pay cut. No one took reduced days. I kind of just backed the team in to find a way and hustle, and we did. And we worked with our clients. So if our clients were probably retail, we really helped shift them into e-com. And I think that was the advantage of being part consultancy and part media is always thinking around what the client needs rather than how do we make a dime out of it. And so got through COVID, and that was fantastic. And then really a lot of growth happened after that. That was kind of the springboard for our success. And over the last 3-4 years, there's been a huge amount of growth in the way that we approach our clients. So we work with a lot of our clients now on full funnel marketing. So it's not just performance marketing anymore, but we'll work on their larger above the line brand campaigns, driving awareness, consideration, as well as their trading, sales, and activation. And that kind of led us to where we are now, because we started doing a lot of activity with our clients on TV, radio, billboards. And the advantage of performance marketing is that you always had Google or Facebook telling you how well your campaigns were running. But if you're buying some billboard and buying some TV, like Channel 7 can't tell you how well it's running. And, and the billboard can't, like out of OOH can't tell you how well it's running. I mean, it's running well. You can see the marketing metrics going up in your brand awareness studies and stuff like that. And I've always been a bit skeptical around Google and Facebook attribution. I've been skeptical about them for a long time. Even in, the last thing you ever do with Google is implement Google recommendations straight away. They're only there to make Google more money, not your clients. So it's always a case of, just making sure that you've got the right view on things that you're going to do. But a lot of our clients will be asking us and saying, if you're running out of home activity or running TV activity, how do we know if it's working? And we looked at a number of different ways to measure the effectiveness of our media investments and our media spend. And for a lot of our clients, the facilities or reporting that they could use weren't good enough, in our opinion. Like multi-touch attribution has its flaws. But marketing mix modeling is a concept that we came across probably about 18 months or so ago. And I started upskilling myself in MMM. And MMM has had a real renaissance over the last 18 months. I think there's a couple of things that have happened that has led a lot of agencies and brands towards making sure that the reporting and measuring of activities is being done through MMM. And if you think about ROAS, return on ad spend, I actually call ROAS the reckless overstatement of ambiguous statistics. I think ROAS is just such a bullshit number. I don't think it's not measuring effectiveness of any kind of campaigns. All it measures is efficiency. And about any marketing metric that has cost per or return on is purely just measuring efficiency. It's not measuring effectiveness at all. For effectiveness, you need to understand what the 3 O's are, like your business objectives, your marketing objectives, and then your campaign objectives. And effectiveness is all right. Did we reach our objectives? Whereas efficiency is like how cheaply or how quickly do we get there. So I think ROAS, everyone leans on ROAS as a large metric, but really the fastest way to increase your ROAS is just to cut your spending, because ROI isn't linear. It goes off a curve, and the incremental return that you get from additional input or investment into a channel decreases over time. So MMM, the advantage of MMM when we start looking at it is that it uses at least 2 years worth of data. It does not work in a 7-day view window or 30-day click. You use at least 2 years, 5 or 10 years worth of data. It uses statistical analysis, which is called multilinear regression, and it basically figures out what the impact or how much does one impact or one variable X impact another variable Y. So how much did hot weather affect ice cream sales? The hotter the weather, the more ice cream sales you make. And MMM basically uses this statistical model to build out everything. So for Melbourne City Football Club, who one of our clients, what we did, they wanted to ask the question around what's driving our crowd attendance. They're a team in the A-Leagues.
Yep.
We're working with them on their media campaigns for the last 5 or 6 years. We took 5 years worth of media plans. We took the results of their games. So were they winning? Were they on a winning streak? Were they on a losing streak? We took the weather into account. Was it raining in Melbourne on the game day? I've got 2 young kids, and if it's pissing down with rain, I'm not going to the live sport.
Mm.
How hot was the weather? In the A-League, they play football in the summer. So how does weather impact it? And what we found is that really from a lot of our investment activity, from a media perspective, we were over investing in Meta to a large degree and under investing in out of home and TikTok. And so MMM has helped us shift our media strategy and our planning and buying into understanding what are the key drivers and the areas that we should be putting our money and investment into.
The money.
Yeah, and that's really been the focus over the last, I would say, 18 months. And I think over the next 12 months, it's going to get even faster. And again, MMM is an old concept that's been around since the 50s and used to have to pay Deloitte, KPMG, the big four, hundreds of thousands of dollars, give them tons and tons of paper, and then they'd come back in about 6 months and give you a report. Now you just give them a report of your data that you have, and you can get a report back in minutes or hours.
Well, how do you go with data input? Because I imagine the more input points about what's going on in the economy and weather, the more accurate you're going to be. Because you mentioned weather, you meant is one factor, but I imagine economy as well is going to have an impact.
Yeah, so we actually in the model we put cost of living is a huge impact on all families at the moment. We thought cost of living might be affecting crowd attendance. It's expensive to go to games, and then when you're at games, you got to pay for parking, you got to get there, you got to then pay for food and drink when you're there. And so, how do we measure cost of living? We use the inflation rate. So, what was the current inflation rate at time, and we put that into the model. And again, multilinear regression is figuring out not just how much does one variable affect another, but how much does one variable affect a core KPI and another variable affect it. So you're putting everything into it. And the thing is with MMM is it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to give you the 100% truth, and you'll never get 100% truth out of it because every model is wrong. Every single model that you build is wrong. Some are just more useful than others. And that's because invariably you bring your own biases into it from the start. And when you're building out an MMM project, you will want to take about 10 to 15 different variables, because if you have more than 15 variables, the incremental gains you're getting out of them is too small to actually make action out of it. And if you have too few variables, if you only got 2 or 3 variables in there, it's not enough statistical significance to matter. So you probably want to work between 10 to 15. But how do you choose those 10 to 15? That's a subjective bias that you have. And immediately you're thinking, okay, well, what are the things that can affect a football game attendance? And we thought media investment, weather, rainfall, cost of living, team performance. There were probably about 10 to 15 things that we put in there. And again, that's where the subjectivity comes into it. That's where the expert judgment comes into. It comes into it.
So when did you said you pivoted your business model almost about 18 months ago to focus on this. So what was the turning point, or why did you decide to pivot into this area?
I think it came because, like I said, in 2016, we're very much focused on strategy. And around 2018, 19, we're very focused on performance, and we're doing a really good job in performance. 20 and 21, we got through COVID. In 22, we really moved into an integrated full funnel agency, looking at the whole media landscape. And at that point, we had to validate the investment decisions that we were making on behalf of our clients. And our clients were asking us as well, like, what return did we get? And generally, when you're doing those large format, high reach, high impact campaigns, people aren't advertising on TV at 7:30 on a Sunday night a Toyota because they want you to go and buy a Toyota at 7:30 on a Sunday night. They're building up mental availability so that when you enter the market, Toyota is one of the brands in front of mind that you have. And so there's a couple of things there. So Ehrenberg Bass have done a lot of great work with mental availability and physical availability. There's a fantastic book called How Brands Grow that I We give to all of our clients when they join, all our staff when they join. It's a great book.
What was the name of the book?
How
Sorry.
Brands Grow by Professor Byron Sharp. They're Ehrenberg Bass Institute is the South Australian university. There's probably one of the foremost critical thinkers around marketing and media today. Their work is fantastic. So mental availability, like, what is my brand front of mind where it needs to be? Physical availability, am I able to buy it when I'm entering the market? There's a number of different rules in marketing. So the 95-5 rule, which is basically that 95% of your market is not in the market. They're not ready to buy at the moment. There's only about 5% that are. And really, it depends on the category that you're in. Depending on the category, you've probably got anywhere between 3 and 8%. And so 5 is kind of an average. But that mental availability means that, you need to be in market and front of mind when your prospective customer enters the market or enters the category at a CEP, a category entry point. So a lot of our clients, when we're running these high reach, high impact campaigns, it's not only to drive the 5% that are in market, but to ensure that future activity or future customers that are coming in market have got the mental availability of our clients and our brands in order to purchase. Very difficult to measure, because if you're doing brand uplift studies or brand awareness studies, then the finance team and the CFO is going to be like, that's great, but where is that on the P&L? And that's a really difficult question to answer. So with marketing mix modeling, what you do is you take one core KPI, and you can have a KPI on awareness, anything that you're measuring. Again, marketing mix modeling, how much does one variable X affect another variable Y? The Y is the core KPI that you want to have, and it's generally going to be around sales or revenue. And so basically, if you're taking 2 to 5 years worth of data to a CFO, and you can say, we've done some analysis, and what we know is that over the last 5 years, this is the impact of all of our media investments on sales and revenue. CFO is happy. A lot of CFOs are happy if you can present numbers in a confident way and have done some due diligence on your numbers. If you just go in there and say, we've spent $3 million and our brand awareness has increased by 5%, they're going to grill you. But marketing mix modeling uses, statistical analysis to help forecast, predict, and explain future behavior based on what has happened. So, we were getting questions from our clients. We were trying to answer those questions.
Yeah. So how did that impact, like, you made a massive change to your business. Like, did that mean you had to change your staff to have different skill sets, or how did you go about that?
Good question. I think initially it was my curiosity that led us down that path. And I've really taken the view now as the founder and leader of Murmur, is that my role is not running the day-to-day parts of the agency. I hired an operations director to do that. That's been
How big is the business? What's the headcount out of interest? Where are you now?
8 staff in Sydney and 4 staff based in overseas in Manila.
Yep.
And the operations director has been an amazing resource, because they've taken all I call it red time. Red is not revenue driving. It's like monthly meetings, one-on-ones, HR, IT, finance discussions, and stuff like that. She's taken all of that activity. Blue time is billable. Blue time is it's really good time. Blue time is like, what is the client paying us to do? And then black time is what is driving future revenue for the business. And I took the view that my job was best spent in black and blue and not in black, blue, and red. And so what I try and do is I try and think for the agency and future-proof the agency in what is happening in the next 2 to 3 years that we need to be ahead of to help our clients. And so that's why 12 months or so, or 18 months or so ago, came across MMM, and I was like, this is definitely the way that reporting and attribution is going to head to. At that point in time, the cookie apocalypse was coming. Google were going to crash all their third-party cookies. Apple have done it anyway. So all your ROAS numbers are off. Anyone that wants to talk about ROAS, I can tell you now, they're not true, because you're ignoring at least 30% of the market. Anyone that's using a Safari browser isn't included in any ROAS numbers on Facebook and Google. So I started thinking about MMM from a future-proofing the agency, and you take staff on that journey. There's upskilling. I think it's important to have the right staff. And when I talk about the right staff, I mean the right cultural fit. So in our one of our core values is around curiosity, and I'm incredibly curious. I love learning, and if your staff aren't, or if Murmur staff aren't curious, then we're not the right agency for you. This is not an agency that you want to come in and work at if you just want to like clock in at 9 and check out at 5 and not learn anything. Learning is part of the fun of growth, right? It's challenging yourself, it's testing, it's failing, it's falling. But it's got to be enjoyable, and it has to be something that you're interested in. So again, we try and find staff that love marketing, love advertising, have a very curious nature. And so MMM for them is a very short journey because it's a case of, okay, well, this can help improve the work that we're doing for our clients. So there hasn't been a huge overhaul of the technical abilities of our staff. I think the staff have been able to take that on board. And I mean, we didn't overhaul our product offering, we just added to it. We were doing media strategy, media planning, and buying. And all we've done now is add in marketing mix modeling, so we can actually talk to the true attribution or the true impact or return that media investments are having.
Yeah, totally. And I guess AI is starting to have an impact in it now as well. Like, and if I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, AI is why it now takes an MMM model minutes and hours and not months and weeks, because it's just happening faster and faster. And I heard something the other day that said AI isn't going to take our jobs. The people that know how to use AI will take our jobs. And I mean, that's true. It's just a case of like, how can you use it? How can you harness it, rather than what it is that's actually being harnessed.
I want you to go deeper into that, because about AI is not going to take our jobs, and the people that know how to use AI will, because that's a real, like, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's a real, we'll call it, threat to people that aren't adapting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared about AI. I'm embracing it. I think it's great. It's fantastic. And yeah, like if you're just sitting on your backside, you're like, what are you doing? You probably will lose your job. But I think if you were, it's there to make your jobs easier. Anyone's job is going to be easier. And I think there's definitely going to be some industries that are disrupted, but there's going to be so many new industries that come off the back of what AI is doing and has done. And really, I mean, it's a buzzword now, but it's been happening for many years. Like it's taken off now, but AI has been around for 15 years.
It's been around for 15 years, and Google, everyone has had the capability for 5, 10, 15 years. They just didn't believe they were ready for market, and they ended up, OpenAI pushed it to go to market, and everyone else had to go to market with half-baked products almost.
Yeah. So no, I'm not worried about AI. I think there's a number of great AI tools that you have at your disposal, the software, and they're always going to be coming out. I think, and again, it's gonna make things faster. That's all it's going to do. It's gonna make us start riding cars rather than horses. Horses are still around, and you can still ride a horse to the pub if you're in the country somewhere. But car just makes the job easier.
Yeah. You being curious, correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if you end up doing some long hours because you go down a rabbit hole and start learning things.
That's the name of the game. It's I'm on LinkedIn like hourly and not posting anything, just following people, reading, learning. At night, YouTube tutorials. It started to be how I initially first built out Murmur's media division by just staying up late and figuring it out. And I say that to my teams, there's nothing like just spending your own money and figuring something out. So if you ever got someone new and they've never done a Facebook campaign or a Google campaign, just go and put a budget of $30 and create one, and just get on the tools and figure it out. And it's an investment in learning, and it's fun. But I mean, you've got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy learning, you won't enjoy those nights, and it'll be a chore. But if you accept it and acknowledge it, and you embrace it, you can go down a rabbit hole, and there's so many there's so many good resources available. YouTube is like there's anything you can find on YouTube. Reddit, there's you know tons of
Reddit is
information.
yeah, I think that's underrepresented. Like there's
Yeah,
so much goodness, so much quality in Reddit.
yeah. I think if you're really getting into a niche, Reddit is the place to go. That's where the community that really cares about any particular given topic are and they're vocal around, and they're happy to help.
Yeah, I've never been a Reddit person. I've never really followed it until Erin, my partner, her and her sister are big Disney fans, and
Okay.
they always talk about anything. They always talk about what happened in Disney because they learned about it on Reddit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
perfect example of a niche.
That's it.
So
Yeah, it's a very niche channel, but it's good fun. And I'm not on Reddit as much as I am on LinkedIn, and I'm definitely not posting as much on Reddit. But I mean, I've Reddit is so good because it's not just professional. Like I follow I've got bees in my home, and there's beekeeping channels. If you're into gaming, there's gaming channels for particular games. Like there's so many channels. If you're into a particular band, there's a band community. Like it's great.
yeah, how do you manage, like, you're on LinkedIn evening, YouTube? How does that impact your family? So, and what do your family think about it?
Yeah, I need to probably cut down on it in terms of how much I am. Um I think when I get home, I want to be at home, and
Mm,
that's I've got young kids. I've got three kids now under 5, and I don't want to be walking around with a phone in my hand when I'm with them. It's not a good model to be. It's a really hard. It's a
it's
really
easier
hard.
said than done, isn't it?
It's so much easier said than done. And I was talking to a staff member the other day, and we were having a one, and they said, "I just really want to find a good work-life balance." And I said, "There's no such thing. There's no such thing as work-life balance. I think it's a myth. I think if there was work, I mean, I would my work-life balance would be maybe 5% work, 95% like traveling or learning or just hanging out with my family. That's what I really love doing. I mean, work is great, but my work-life balance is not 50-50. It's not like 30-40. It's people talk about wanting to have a work-life balance. I think you've just got to find your own balance and not worry about work and life. You just need to find your own balance and where that
Right,
is.
life balance. Like, what does life mean to you?
That's it. Yeah.
Work, sport, family.
Yeah.
Um, it's all like it's a life balance.
Yeah.
It's not work-life balance. It's
Correct.
everything balance.
Yeah. So, yeah. How am I at home with that? I've got to get better. If I'm honest, that's probably one of my weaknesses. Just
Yeah.
I've got to be less digital at home.
Is that something that you're aware of, or is it something that your family call you out on?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. The wife has traditionally called me out on it, but even the other day, and I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything like nefarious. I was just walking around with my phone, and my son just said, "Like, why are you on your phone?" And I was just walking around with it. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like,
Yeah.
and there's a great video. I think it's Simon Sinek, and I think he does some good stuff and some other stuff that's a bit questionable. But he had this great presentation once that you may have seen. It's like as soon as you're talking to someone, they're holding a phone. You don't have their full attention, and I'm cognizant and aware of that. I need to get better at it because when I get home, I should just leave the phone in the car because I don't need it at home. Once you're at home, you're safe, right? Like you don't need it. Like why do I even take it in the house? But it's because of the dopamine. It's
So
because
dopamine hits the addiction. You're wanting to continually progress,
yeah,
and you're worried that if you're not connected, you're not progressing.
yeah,
And then we forget what is real. What's
what's important. Yeah,
yeah,
it's prioritizing really.
it's and it's easy to prioritize business over family because we know, rightly or wrongly, we assume that we're always going to have our family.
Yeah, And that's it. It's a presumption. Um,
Mm,
but that's an area of growth that I want to get better at.
yeah. Um, have you like? There's so many business owners that are in a similar position to you. So you're not abnormal. Like you're so passionate about your business and you're making leaps and bounds in your business, but you forget your family life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, don't worry, it's not you're not abnormal on that
No,
front.
I know. I don't think I'm an outlier in it, but it's hard. It is hard to change habits, and you get into the habit of just being online, being accessible. Um,
Mm.
you get in the habit of
That's a big one, being accessible.
what's that?
So being accessible.
Yeah,
So we set those rules, we set those boundaries for ourselves. It's our own fault.
I know. It's on it. Yeah, it's a failing, Tristan.
I'm not meaning to call you out. Don't worry, mate. So like I'm good at it. I'm not the best at it. It's so
I need to get better.
um yeah,
I'm definitely not
well,
one of those. I'm definitely not one of the LinkedIn posters that's like I got up at 4 a.m. I had a nice bath. I watched the sunrise. I journaled and then did my work and I finished at 3 and took off. Like that's not my
no,
life. My life is much crazier than that.
yeah. And I imagine you've got a TV, but you don't really watch it. So because there's always something going on.
Oh, I do watch it. We've been getting into Yellowstone, and we just like it had the finale on Monday, so we watched that. I don't know what to do now that Yellowstone's finished, but yeah, it's funny. Like it's just nice to have dinner. Like when the kids are down, you have dinner with the wife. There's no TV. There's just talking. Um, and then there's like the 30 or 45 minutes before bed. It's like okay, should we entertain ourselves and watch something then? So that's the guilty pleasure that we have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Back in business, I'm sure there's been a time where you've sort of hit a point where you're like, oh shit, what's next? Like I'm stuck here.
Mm.
So, um, and you'd be lying if there hasn't been a point where you felt stuck.
Yeah.
So I want to hear one of those stories.
I mean, there's there's so many. It's just a question of how stuck you are.
Yeah.
Um, COVID. I mean, COVID is the classic example of like the world is falling apart around us. I mean, we were in a subleasing an office space from a travel agency company. They just do travel marketing,
Mm.
and they went from 24 staff to 4 staff in a matter of weeks, and that was really sad time to be there. And at that point, we were winning awards and growing and shifting into e-com. And I think that's probably the key thing I would say is that in moments of challenge and stress, you can't be static. You've just got to move. And it doesn't kind of matter what direction. There just has to be movement and momentum. And that's probably the key thing that I would say is that if you're stuck and you're not moving, you're going to stay stuck. Um, and whether, I mean, I've had challenges with staffing. And again, if someone's not right and you know it early, you got to move on it. You can't just stay with it. And if someone's really good early, you make a move on it as well. You promote quickly. You move quickly. So I think if you like the one, I mean, there's been many moments where you're kind of stuck. It's just a degree of stickiness that you're stuck in. It's
That's a
just
mindset thing.
it is. I mean, it's not always, but it can be. I think the
The
main
willingness to change or adapt. So
yeah
not rather than being stuck, almost not getting over yourself, but allowing yourself to do things differently and allowing yourself to accept that what you were doing may not have been the right thing.
yeah. And I think a large part of our jobs as business owners and founders and leaders is problem solving. Like it's just got to be problem solving. Like I'm jumping into like there's this site like Wordle called Minute Cryptic, and you do a cryptic crossword every day. And what I recently had my 6-week-old son, and before he was born, I was in the hospital with the wife, and I've never completed a cryptic crossword. And as amazing it was for my 6-week-old son born, I was able to complete a cryptic crossword in the day leading up to his birth when I was stuck in hospital, and the wife was like going through occasional labor. But problem solving is like it's critical to have, and just knowing that there's a number of different ways to solve problems. There's not just a way. And I say this to my team all the time. There's no right or wrong decisions that you make. There's just decisions. And I would much rather have a decision made than no decision made, because it's movement. You need to move. And yeah, one of the worst traits you could be is indecisive. It's just, I think great leaders just make a decision, they back it. And if it ultimately turns out to be a wrong decision, you're faced with another decision down the track, and you just got to make the decision. And yeah, judgment helps, experience helps in making the right call at the right time. But being able to move is probably the one thing I would take out of it.
Biggest one, yeah, totally. Because if you're being stagnant, you're going backwards, and you're making a decision to go backwards if you're not moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
David, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, mate. We're out of time now. So whereabouts, if people wanted to get in touch with you, whereabouts would we connect with you? What's the best way?
You can find me on our website, murmur.media. You can find me on LinkedIn under Dave Levette, or you can find me in Sans Souci in the backyard tending to some bees or playing chess.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Tristan.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.